Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us on this channel. My name is Kim Chamberlain, and on behalf of the Facebook group Channeling Development and Spiritual Growth, I have the wonderful pleasure of being able to interview experienced channelers to find out what they do and how they do it. And today we are really fortunate to have Deborah Hallam with us. Welcome, Deborah. Please introduce yourself and just tell us a bit about who you are and what you're about.
Thank you, Kim. It's lovely to be here and having a chat with you. I'm an ordinary person, and I think that's really important to say for anyone who's listening. I'm someone who has had a gradual unfolding of my spirituality, which started around about the age of 9 when my mum was hanging around with a lot of people who were talking about spirituality and sitting under frames of pyramids. And I read Richard Bach's book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And so that really informed me at a very young age about, or got me very curious, should I say, at a very young age. And I've spent the rest of my life exploring and trying to understand the wonder of the world around us. And I've done ordinary human things. And it wasn't until about 6 years ago, I had this real urge to be really cracked open. And I worked with a healer, worked through a lot of trauma, and really just felt like I suddenly let a lot of light, my own light, into myself. And yeah, my world started to change in a lot of ways after that point.
Wow, that's fascinating. And so, from a channeling point of view, what channeling do you do?
So, Kim, I want to start with this wonderful description of that you have of what channeling is. And you describe channeling being a natural way of gaining information from something other than your conscious mind. And when I reflect on that description of what channeling is, I am aware that I've been channeling all my life because I've had an awareness of things all my life. And I guess what has grown for me is the subtleties around that. So I've had my intuition has been very, very strong. And I think intuition is a form of channeling because we're tapping into something outside of our conscious mind. And I've made some really big decisions in my life purely based on that because it just felt through all of my body and every cell that that was the thing to do. So, an example of that was in my 20s, I was in a relationship, I had a paid job, and I was quite happy. And then I just knew that I needed to go to university. Um, and so I did. And a lot of people were quite shocked. I'd already shocked them because I'd changed from one profession to another, from one very well paid one to one where I was starting from scratch and having to build myself up again with knowledge and things like that. But that's me. I just have trusted that, and that's worked, that served me really well. And what I have noticed is that I'm able to hold a lot more of myself now when I channel and notice subtle things. And that has enabled me to take my channeling into a space where I can help others, which is really, really special work. And so channeling happens often in my life now. Um, when I actually sit to channel, as opposed to just being in life and then suddenly getting a feeling, I do actually sit and channel purposefully now a lot. And I do that in my work, working with clients and helping them to open to their greatest potential. Recently, you and I, Kim, with some other beautiful people, have all channeled a book together and co authored a really beautiful book that's just come out. It's called, what is it called?
Channeled soul messages.
That's right. Channeled Soul Messages. Guidance for Thriving in the World Today. It's on Amazon, and it's a really wonderful tool for people. And actually, I feel that anyone who reads that book and really gets to know themselves and their connection to the wonderful energies that we're surrounded by may actually find themselves starting to notice some of these subtle things. So they may have an awareness too that they've also been very intuitive and have channeled things in their life. It could be anything. Art is another one that does that for me. I get completely lost sometimes if I'm in the mode of creating. So yeah, working with clients, I channel for myself, and I also channel. I've been channeling weekly or fortnightly with a friend. We've been doing journal prompts together this year, and that's been really, really fascinating. What I have found is the more I've channeled, the more frequently I've channeled, the more stable and anchored I actually feel in my body on the planet,
Mm.
which is actually a really wonderful thing to tap into during this enormous period of change that we're all experiencing. So that has been an unexpected and really wonderful side effect of channeling for me. Yeah.
Channeling is such a huge, huge issue, and it can be used in so many ways. And it's just wonderful to hear the ways that you're using it and the benefits that it can bring. I'm constantly amazed by the different ways that people channel and how they use channeling for the good of themselves and ultimately for the good of all. It's an amazing, amazing tool that isn't necessarily even that difficult to learn how to do if it's something that you've never done.
Mm.
So, from a point of view of how you channel, do you
Mm.
have a process that you go through?
I do have a process I go through. And the reason I use this process is one, just to secure my energy, and two, to really be as open as I can be to get the best quality information. So to be the clearest conduit to feel, hear, or whatever that is that would like to come through. And through the process of exploring how do I actually channel when I consciously sit, I've discovered that I have this wonderful group of benevolent beings that work with me. I don't know who they are. I feel like they're guides mostly. And so I refer to them as my spirit council. So when I sit, I actually sit in a crystal grid, and I quieten down my mind. And some of the first things that I do is just to connect myself to the earth and up into divine energies so that I guess, sitting really fully in the center of my Taurus energy field. If someone wants to look that up, Taurus, I kind of imagine that that's what's happening. I'm sitting in the center of that, and I'm connecting, my energy's connecting above and below and through me. And then I actually work with a tree. Trees have featured hugely in my life the last few years, and I have this tree which is an extension of me, and I sit in this tree. It's huge, so its trunk would easily cover an entire standard residential property. It's massive.
Wow.
So I sit in this tree and anchor myself and feel its connection into the earth's heart. And then I travel up it and I meet my spirit council, and I feel like they help raise my frequency even higher. And so I travel up through the top of this tree. I feel like I travel through an aurora, up through the stars and out through the universe, and then into this wonderful space. And this is also the same space I take my clients into. And that's where I can receive. And I quite often get a few nudges from my spirit council as well. I get a lot of imagery from them actually, and then I'm in that space. And So yes, imagery first. Sometimes I get a nudge to write. I actually feel like my hand gets warm, and that feels like a nudge to write something. And when we were channeling the book, when I was channeling my chapter, I actually had to record what I was channeling mostly through voice because it was coming through thick and fast. And so that has been, I'm learning constantly because channeling seems to just change and grow and expand with me. And what I noticed was I had to practice somehow or other kind of turning down the speed at which things were coming through so I could keep up with it. So at that point in time, the only way to keep up with it was to record it by voice and then go back through and edit it with grammar and things like that. So it's been fascinating how information just arrives for me.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that idea of the tree. That's just amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
everything
it's
has
a
an energy, but trees are something very, very special.
yes. Yes, I get goosebumps when I talk about this tree or even think about this tree that yeah is a part of me because it literally feels magical and it feels like I can go anywhere
Wow.
through that tree. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So for people who are new to channeling, do you have any advice for how they could get started?
Yes, I do. I think that if you like to channel consciously, then it is really important to create a quiet space for yourself and to surround yourself in a bubble of light and ask the universe to hold your energy safe and anchor your energy into the ground. So grow roots through your feet and just feel yourself very connected. And then just imagine yourself as a flower. I'm thinking of a white rose for some reason. That feels important to say. And just imagine yourself as a white rose and just opening. And then just letting the universe know, speak it out loud or just through your mind, and just let the universe know that you're open to receive. And just be patient and understand that how you channel and receive will take you on a journey, but will be very different to what you've heard me explain or anyone else that you've interviewed, Kim, because we're all so different. Um, and maybe record things so you can see the progress of how your channeling evolves and changes over time. And and I think you then learn to build some trust around that as well. And you might then notice the more subtle things. And I think that's why sitting and being still for channeling is hugely powerful because that allows you to notice feelings that you may not have noticed or sensations, or perhaps you end up being someone who hears things. So you won't notice that if you're kind of bustling around, but if you just allow yourself to quieten and and to persevere. And if nothing else happens for a few weeks or a few months, you will just, every time you do that, just receive an enormous amount of peace. And that's not going to do you any harm at all.
Very true. And I do like the way that you use the word trust, because when it's new to us and we start or we try to start channeling and we have all the doubts and you think it's not working, or I've got something, but I think I'm making it up. Living in that energy of doubt doesn't help, but living in the energy of trust is going to get you there a lot quicker.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you, Deborah. That has been absolutely fascinating. I know it's only been a few minutes, but there is an enormous amount of wisdom that you've brought through today. Certainly, it's a video that people might want to watch more than once to get the depth of what you have brought through and to have a really good think and really tap into the energy of what you've talked about today. It's been absolutely fascinating. So what I will do is I'll put Deborah's details below. I'll also include details of the book that she mentioned, Channel Soul Messages, and I'll also put the link to the Facebook group if you're interested in joining Channeling Development and Spiritual Growth. Thank you so much for your time, Deborah, and for sharing your wisdom and knowledge. It's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. It's been lovely to share and encourage other